2.5 amps. Yep, the dash is on. Well, if you've been following along with my channel long enough, you know that means we've got data lines awake. And when you got data lines awake, there's really just no telling what you're going to find wrong with it. 2014 Lincoln MKZ, and I've got 2 complaints with the car. One was batteries draining, and 2, the rear trunk doesn't open. And I've confirmed that with the button on the very bottom and on the key fob itself, the trunk does not open. So let's see if you can see down here, there's a button here. If we press that, nothing happens. Same with the key fob. You double click it, doesn't do anything. Let me grab it. So here it is. I seen the parking lights flash and our meter changed, but that just means the BCM is doing things, but our trunk didn't do anything, like still stuck. So I kind of think I'm going to go after the rear trunk issue first, but I just want to see first off if we got any kind of codes or anything like that. So I'm going to connect the battery back together, get my charger out, because I already know I've got a 2.3 amp draw. So I'm just going to connect the battery back together. I'm going to get the maintainer out and hook it up and get the battery voltage back up. It's down a little bit, even though I charged it last night. I think the battery's going to be bad. We're sitting at like 10 volts, I believe. Let me just see. Oh. That just blew my fuse. I do that all the time. Anybody else do that all the time? Well, it's actually 12 volts. So I'm still going to get the maintainer on it and get it charged up, and we'll scan it for codes. Of course, I had tons of low voltage codes in this thing, so I went through and just cleared all the codes. There was nothing set as current. Everything was history. So I went through, cleared everything, turned it off, turned it back on, and did another code scan. And as you can see, we have no fault codes in any module at all. And we do not have a rear hatch that works. It will not pop. I don't know if there's a button on, yeah, there is a button on the inside. So even the button on the inside doesn't do anything. And I would assume that that is controlled by what the scan tool is calling a gate trunk module rear. Come on, go in here. And if we go into codes, memory codes, see if it pulls anything. No codes. So why is it not popping the trunk but not setting a code? You'd think this new of a car probably would, since it's got a module dedicated for the trunk. So I just want to look at some data. So if we go into the data, let's see if we can see some button movement. And now it tells us no comp. It's pretty strange. It tells us no codes, but yet now it's telling us we have no comm to the module. It's a little weird. So I really definitely want to get back there to that thing. It on all data, it shows it basically being on the other side of the quarter panel here. And to be able to get to it, when we get over here to the all data, we see rear gate, trunk module, and how you remove it. Well, step one is, or the first real step is open the trunk. That I can't do. Take out some panels, and then here's our module in behind that quarter panel. So I gotta figure out how to get in the trunk. Here we have a back seat, and let's get some of this stuff down out of the way. Alright, so can we, by chance, get through the ski hole? Oh, it's a little dark in there. I don't really see a pull tab either. So, ski hole might not work. Ooh, but we do have a latch here. Hey, there we go. And we got treasures. And there's our pull handle way in there. So, let me try to get in here and pull that without breaking anything. Alright, success. So, the pull handle worked. Good old pull handle. So now we just gotta get behind there and see what's going on with this module. Alright, before I get too in depth with this lift gate module, trunk module, whatever you want to call this thing, I got in here and I unplugged it. I checked the powers and grounds, they were fine. And I back probed into my MS CAN wires and it went to sleep. The MS CAN went to sleep. But I've still got a cluster that's on, and I'm still pulling a little over an amp. So I really don't know that that thing's my issue. It doesn't make sense that I can't talk to it and it won't pop the trunk. So I might actually be dealing with two different issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually plug everything back up, and I'm just going to go through this thing like pretty much every other parasitic drain that I get where it's a network issue. Plug that thing back up, and the MS CAN come back awake. And my battery drain has went back up to over 2 amps. I mean, it really is looking like I've got two things causing a battery drain. This one might be pretty tough. So it's still saying I've got no comm to this trunk module, but every now and then, just like right then, it gives me a glimpse of it. Sometimes if I just keep hitting retry, it stays up a little bit longer sometimes. And then see, like that time, straight to no comm. So I'm almost wondering if maybe this is just a scan tool issue. Maybe I need to try a different scan tool. See, you need more than one scan tool. You need different brands of scan tools. Just pulled it up. So this is what it's seeing. And if you see that right there, I don't know if that's my issue or not, but this thing is doing some weird stuff, and my drain is actually up to 3.7, but this thing's doing some weird stuff. So like, I don't know if when this is going to NA or if it's trying to go to sleep or what. Don't really know, but seeing that transmission gear engaged park flipping some, makes me wonder. So let me kind of rescan everything with the Altel and see if we've got some codes that the Snap-on isn't finding. Well, it's the next morning. I had the charger on this thing all night, letting it kind of basically charge that battery up real good. And I did leave it connected, when I come in, the charger wasn't pulling any current. I was like, well, that's kind of strange. So I carefully unhooked the battery, like leaving it kind of connected until I could get my meter in the circuit, and the car is asleep. So it does look like maybe just this module is all that's wrong with this car. And it just took it a ridiculously long time to go to sleep. So, because it was getting a little late yesterday whenever I stopped filming. So I was like, I'm just going to let it sit until tomorrow. I'll start over in the morning, start fresh with it, and I come in and the car's asleep. Even though when I left, it was probably 15-20 minutes after I stopped filming, and I was still pulling about 700 milliamps whenever I left. So it probably took it a full 30 minutes or more probably to completely go to sleep. Seems like these cars are just getting longer and longer, especially Fords, and I mean Lincolns, it's still Ford. They just seem to take a really long time to go to sleep. So I'm going to get with the customer about this module, see if they want to go ahead and replace that. I'm sure they do, and if so, we'll continue on with this video. Well, I have got the replacement liftgate module. I've already swapped the little beeper over from the original one, and I've had the battery on the maintainer all night, just setting at 12.5 volts, and as you can see, there is no battery drain right now. If there was, this would still have an amp draw because it would be compensating for it. So I still know that with that module unplugged, the car goes to sleep. We don't have that battery drain anymore. I do believe the battery is bad though. I come in yesterday to crank it to move it inside, let it sit overnight, and the battery was dead again. But I'm stupid and I left that old module plugged up in the back. Whenever I parked it outside, I forgot to unplug it. But anyways, going to test the battery today. I'm pretty sure it's bad, but I'm just going to test it with the pico scope, and then we're going to put this in, and I'm pretty sure it's going to need programmed, at least coded, because this module is used in the SUVs, some of the cars, things like that. So let me get the pico set up to test this battery. Okay, so I got the Pico Diagnostics software open. This is my favorite way to test batteries and alternators, really. You just click on the battery test there, and then down here you would put in your cold cranking amps, your unit. I don't really care about the temperature, and we're a 12-volt battery. This is a lead acid battery. And then as for connections, channel 1 is just battery positive and battery ground. And channel 2, I use the 2000 amp amp clamp. And we are just going to basically click the start button here, and it's going to want us to crank the car. So as you see, it says start the engine, and this is the first time it's being cranked since it's charged overnight. So just gonna get in, push the start button, and now it's gonna do its analyzation. As you can see, battery is good but needs charging. Well, we recharged that battery all night, and the capacity here is showing only 57%. So let me cut this off. We'll go over a little bit. On our charging circuit, it tells us basically how much charge we have coming out. It's 14.8 volts, and it says check to make sure this is okay for the vehicle. It is. And then our alternator ripple voltage, 350 millivolts. That's completely fine. And then 49.1 amps is what it's recharging at after that crank. It also shows us our starter motor. It's good. So there's a lot of information on this that's very good for battery testing. And as you can see, our state of charge says it's 20%. Keep in mind, I had this thing on the charger all night. So it's a bad battery. Even though this is saying it's a good battery, I know it's bad because I've had it on the charger all night and it's still saying it's only 20% of the charge. So this battery's bad. So you got to kind of take some of this info, you know, how it is like it's not sure, you know, what you've done to the battery. It doesn't know that you've charged it all night. So just going by this, 20% charge. The voltage that it dropped to is 7 volts. So 7 volts on a crank is pretty low. And then the maximum current was 480 amps. So yeah, it's a little weak. And it's reading the capacity at 346 cold cranking amps. So we need a battery. Just gonna sell them one. This one's been in here for a while, I think. The date, well, November of 22. So they might have a warranty with this. So I'll see if they have a warranty with it or not. But either way, the repeated dying of the battery because of the battery drain has killed this battery. So now let's get the that module put in and see about programming it, setting it up, coding it, whatever it needs. I'm sure it's probably going to need as-built data put in it. I don't think I'm going to try to do a PMI because the way the snap-on was kind of glitching out with the communication. The Autel would read the communication and it would always pull codes with the snap-on, but I couldn't communicate with it. So I'm a little skeptical. I'm going to plug the new one up and see if I can see the data with the snap-on with it, or if it does the same glitch out too. If the same glitch out happens, it might be safe to do a PMI, but I'm really skeptical about doing a PMI because it could pull some corrupted data out. So let's plug that up, hook snap-on up, and see what's going on with it. Okay, so I got that module plugged up down here, and as soon as I plug that thing up, the latch here extended back out. It was stuck down, but as soon as it got power, this thing extended up. So that is pretty promising. And with the snap-on, I got it turned on, and if we get down here to gate trunk module rear, so as before, you know, we could read codes, which it didn't have any, but when I tried to pull the data up, it would not pull data. So, and there it is. Data is reading perfectly fine. So yeah, I'm not going to trust doing a PMI with the old module. I'm just too afraid of corrupted data. So I'm going to look to see if I can just do it as built data, or if I actually need to do forward software and do a programmable installation that way, where it pulls any kind of server data or server files to calibrate it. So let me do a little bit of reading. Okay, so as we can see here, basically the first thing it says in the removal process is we need to upload the module configuration. Well, that's not going to be really possible because we know that module's bad. Uh, so I went ahead, went down through here, and of course at the bottom during the installation, it also says you need to download the module configuration from the scan tool, which we couldn't do. So I have purchased a Ford subscription, and we're going to go through Ford and do it that way. So I already got the battery maintainer on the car. Still only have it like 12.6 or something like that. It's fine for these. So we're just gonna walk through the Ford software and program this module, or upload the data that it needs, the configuration data. It did have codes in it for the data not being in there. We'll do a DTC scan on here once it finishes getting all the vehicle data. Okay, so we're going to go up to the toolbox here. I'm just going to do the self-test and all. And yeah, I know the noise is annoying. It seems like every time I turn it off, it just updates and turns itself back on or something. It's aggravating. So we got a lot of pass, and then some body control modules stuff, and the rear gate trunk module. This code right here, control module main configuration data. So it's not configured. We knew that. So we are going to do module programming, and since we can't do PMI, it's not even in the list here. Going to do module reprogramming, and the rear gate trunk module is right there. And that's the reason why I haven't used Ford, is the PMI is not in anything else. Like as far as the Alltel, it wasn't even in the Alltel. So yeah, we're just having to do it through Ford. And it's just asking, VIN stuff and whatnot. That's going to figure out what it needs and put it in here. See right here is saying, as-built data from the vehicle database, and yes, and we are connected. So yeah, we're going to look on the network. I even tried Forescan to see if Forescan would let me do the as-built data for this, and it wouldn't. So this is basically telling us our current vehicle level and what it's going to change it to, and we want to hit yes. So this is now pulling the files from the network, from their servers, and just got to do some key cycles that it tells us to do. Pretty basic stuff here. And now we're doing module reprogramming. For some reason, the windshield wipers are deciding to go, but that's one reason why you want a battery maintainer, like a good one, for weird stuff turning on like that. Alright, and there we go. Calibration has been loaded and checked. And you guys know I like to screenshot. I don't really remember what the last of the VIN is on this thing, so I'm just going to leave it like that and I'll change it later. And then this right here is going to get screenshot. And that's it. So let's turn this back on. We'll go over here and we're going to erase all the DTCs. Okay, so got all the DTCs cleared and now everything has passed. And here's a list of all the cleared codes. So there we go. That's pretty much it. Going to do one final battery drain test just to make sure this thing goes to sleep correctly. And that'll be it for this thing, aside from the battery. So I almost forgot. We need to check the actual trunk pop and see if it works. Yep. It works. So let's do the battery drain test again. Yep, taking this vehicle back to the customer. It did fall asleep. Took it pretty much 30 minutes, but it finally did fall asleep. Here's a little picture of that. Got down to 18 milliamps, and I let it sit there for a little while like that. Never woke back up. So calling this one a fix, and just going to take it back to the customer, let them have it back. Kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop on how long it was taking it to fall asleep and how much current it was pulling before it finally went to sleep. But sometimes you just got to let them sit for a while, and this is one of those where you just need to let it sit. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. We did get a little bit of a head start on it since they did have a second complaint of the trunk not opening. That kind of pointed us in the direction we needed to go. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, hit that like button, the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.